Okay, so it's September 14th, 2016, and hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night to all ICF leaders and members around the globe. My name is Noah Ronan, and I am the president of ICF Raleigh area chapter, and I am very excited and honored to co-host the ICF Foundation, this 1-hour webinar, Igniting Social Progress from Passion to Community Coaching Outreach, as we call it CCO, sustained programs. And with me, I have Amy Friskney. I didn't rehearse that one. So.
That's all right. No worries.
Amy Friskney with us. She's the director of marketing and outreach with the ICF Foundation. And we also have Sackeena Gordon-Jones, which I can pronounce her name right because she's from our chapter. She's Ph.D. and PCC from the ICF Raleigh area chapter. She won with the chapter the Gift of Coaching Award in 2015 for her leadership with the Community Coaching Outreach Program. And we also have our team with her today, which I would like to say thank you for the marvelous job that they do with us. And before I will give the microphone to Sackeena and Amy, I will take a moment to share with you why we decided to create this webinar. So as you probably know, presidents of ICF are invited every year to the Global Leadership Forum, and we won the Gift of Coaching Award in 2015. And when I went to the Global Forum leadership in Charlotte this year, when the leaders saw that the different presidents saw that I have the name tag and underneath it's Raleigh area chapter, everyone asked me if I can take a moment to share with them about our successes and learning points and all the information that they can take to their chapter and move forward. And we also get some emails to the chapters going to Sackeena and her team to share from their experience. And coming from human resources and training, when I see too many questions about the same topic, I see that there is a need and we need to do something about it. So I reached to Amy and Sackeena, and gratefully they said that they will do the webinar. And I am very excited that we can co-host this webinar also with the ICF Foundation that I didn't know enough about them before the first award, and I'm excited that Amy will be able to share more about the work they do for other leaders to learn. So just what is the plan for today? So first, Amy will share about the ICF Foundation and its why. Then Sackeena will share about the Community Coaching Outreach Project in our chapter, the successes that brought her to win the Gift of Coaching Award, and the learning points from our experience. Then we'll open it for 15 minutes or so for your questions. And feel free, there is a chat area in the Zoom, so if you have questions, just put them in the chat and I will make sure to address all the questions. And even if we don't have the answer right now, we'll make sure to post it on the Basecamp or other ways for you to get the information. So, Amy.
Yes. So we are thrilled also to be partnering with ICF Raleigh on this webinar. Just to give you a little background about the foundation, we are the supporting organization of ICF Global. What that means is we really are about bringing forth some of the mission and the strategic goals of ICF. Specifically, there is a goal number 5, which is around creating societal change from coaching. In the last year, specifically this past spring, the ICF Foundation, which has its own separate board of trustees, met and created our own specific strategic goals and plans. And so we're just thrilled with what the next 12 months to next 2 to 3 years look like for us. We're thrilled to have great partners like ICF Raleigh, who are already carrying out some of the vision that we hope to move forward in the future. We are led by our president, Janet Harvey, who sends her regrets of not being able to get on our webinar today. She had a coaching conflict on her schedule. She's a lady on the go a lot. So she sends her best wishes, and again, she is kind of leading the charge for us as we move forward in the next 12 months of our planning and strategic goals. The gift of coaching came about a couple of years ago. Last year was actually our inaugural year for that program. We created this award to really capture and show chapters what amazing things were going on. We knew great things were happening, and we wanted to see those continue to flourish. And so that is consistent of 2 awards. One is called the Gift of Coaching, and one is the Culture of Giving. The primary difference in those 2 awards is Gift of Coaching focuses on one partner within your community. So with that, I will cover, I know one of the things we had on the agenda was, what are some of the challenges that we hear from folks that are talking through their coaching programs or their pro bono programs? And a lot of them things like, how do you actually structure the program? How do we determine who a partner should be? We do a lot of great things in ICF in our chapters around International Coaching Week, and those are amazing things that are going on. But how can we take those ideas and those concepts and create longevity and sustainability with a program and really create impact within our communities in that time? And so I think as we walk through Sackeena's portion of the webinar, you'll see that there's really great ways that you can structure something that will have great longevity and great impact in your community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sackeena.
Am I off mute? Okay, great. Good. Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here. And Nancy Terry is on the line. I believe we may have a couple other of our committee members on the phone lines. So I thought that what I'd do is just give us a quick walkthrough of what we're doing and then leave room for Q&A. And the committee members will be here to help me answer any questions that you might have. And I'm also open if while I'm doing this, while I'm talking with you, if you have questions that come up and you want to ask at that point. I don't know if there's a protocol for the question and answers, but I'm open to however it will work for you. So I thought what we would do is to first talk about, our why. Why are we even doing this? And there are 2 reasons that you do things, right? One is because you just think it's something that you need to do and you've got a checklist and you want to get it done. And for those of you that have been in HR, we have these lists of things that we need to get done. We really didn't start with that as our motivation. It really was more of a heart thing. And so, passion versus checklist. We really believe that there was a way for us as coaches to impact our community. And we looked at the fact that nonprofit wanting to give back in service of humanity flourishing. And we thought this was a real win-win for us to follow our heart and serve our community by providing with truly the gift of coaching. So that was our why. And to support our why, we had some goals, right? So if we're going to do this, what's going to be different? What are we going to affect or impact? And we had 4 such goals. One was we wanted to support what ICF chapter was doing, which was to increase the visibility of professional coaching in our community. So this was another way that the chapter could actually serve that goal by allowing us to reach out to this market space, right? The nonprofit leaders. The other one was to really broaden the understanding of coaching, because as we all know, coaching is the second word that comes out almost from anyone when you ask them, what do you do, right? I'm a doctor and a coach. I'm a nurse and a coach. Everybody's a coach. And what does that really mean? It gets really confusing. So this was a way for us to go out and help to increase the understanding. And right off the bat, we had an opportunity to do this because we found a nonprofit group that was putting on a conference. And in that conference, they said they had on-the-spot coaching. And so we made a call to them and said, hey, tell us a little bit more about your on-the-spot coaching. And after listening, we realized it wasn't coaching at all. And so we offered, could we share with you more about what coaching is? And they inclined us to do so. And we did so. And they said, wow, we've been misrepresenting coaching. What we're really doing is on-the-spot mentoring. So they invited us to join them and actually provide coaching. So in that way, very practically, we could start to really broaden the understanding of coaching in our community in this market group. The third goal was to really improve the access to coaching. Again, what we know is that a lot of nonprofits, at least in our state, they really either don't have the funding or even the time to search out for coaches. So this was a way for us to really help them, one, receive coaching in a very structured and formal way, and two, allow it to be something that was manageable so that even how they came to it, right, they were able to understand what they were stepping into and be more prepared. Right. So a good story of that is you're working with a nonprofit and you start out your engagement with sending them, 7 forms that they need to read and sign. They're probably not going to sign up to coach because it already looks overwhelming to them. Right. So those are some things that we learned. So how do we improve the access? Well, we minimize the tension and the paperwork and the anxiety of coming into coaching. Our fourth goal was to really build partnerships. And, none of us can do what all of us can do, right? So the more people we have working together, the better we can accomplish whatever our goals and missions. Nonprofits have missions and they know clearly that they need partnerships in order to achieve those missions. Our chapter has lots of goals and great ideas, and we know the only way for us to really do that is through partnerships. So building partnerships with coaches in our chapter. We also decided we had a sister chapter in our state, the Charlotte chapter. So we reached out to them, let's build partnerships. And because of those partnerships, this initiative has been able to touch the entire state of North Carolina. And it really, no matter whether they're in a rural county or in a more metropolitan, county or city, they can get a coach to work with them. And that has spoken volumes for us. It's really helped even our government's presence in the community of coaching to go broader. So we literally have, in our events that we've done, local government officials that will show up because they understand that we're bringing coaching and it's touching every constituent that they have in this state. Right. So those were our 4 goals. And I'm happy to say, I think we've met those goals and continue to meet them as we grow in doing this work. But that is what undergirds our why, right? To get this out to the community who needs it the most, but can afford it the least. And I talked a little bit about partnerships. I think the partnerships are really at the core of what we do. So we decided that there was a couple of ways that we could go out to this nonprofit community. One was we could just start vetting agencies on our own and go through a list, which we actually put together, of the criteria of who we would serve, who would be the ideal clients, and go out and start knocking on doors or sending out emails. We could do all of that. But we also knew that doing all of that would be very resource inhibitive for us. We have volunteer coaches, and to take on that kind of an effort would have consumed a lot of time from those coaches. So we looked at another way. Who could we partner with that could help us? And in many of our states, there's an organization that's sort of there to support nonprofit agencies. We found the one in North Carolina. It's called the North Carolina Center for Nonprofits. And they literally have all of the nonprofits that are members of that organization. So we sat down with them and talked about a partnership where we could help them serve their constituents, and they could bring something really meaningful and fulfilling to their constituents. And they saw the vision as a win-win. And so we entered into an agreement and a partnership with them. And what that means is they actually became part of our committee, because the members that we serve come through them. So they actually take the front end and ensure that these folks that they're going to say will get coaching, qualify for coaching, that they're ready for coaching, that they understand the gist of what it is that they're going to get as a service. And so when we get them, the first level of qualifications have already been done. All right. And we know that this partnership works because whenever they get someone in whichever county across our state, we have 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. And one of the things that they tell us at the center is that they are so happy to be able to provide this kind of support to their members. And they can let their members know that no matter which county you're in, you can have access to this service. And it doesn't matter your size. If you are a one-person nonprofit, agency, or a 900 member, you have access to this service. So the partnership really is a win-win. And we ourselves as a chapter have entered into a relationship with the Center for Nonprofits because we're a nonprofit. And so that has allowed us to get closer with community leaders. And so the partnership really works to strengthen coaches, to strengthen organizations, to strengthen foundations, and to strengthen leaders in the nonprofit world, as well as in the for-profit world. Because what we find is we have a lot of coaches who work in organizations for profit who also want to give back. So they have an opportunity through our initiative to also give back to nonprofits, right? So the partnerships that we've built are really what makes this largely so sustainable and so far-reaching within our state. All right, so that's all about our why. What is it that we do? Well, we give back coaching. We all know what coaching is. Coaching, we know, also works over time. It's not a one-stop. So we don't have a coaching moment with them and then move on to the next person. We really set up a relationship for coaching that is at least a minimum of 3 months, right? So that they can really receive coaching in a way that allows them to grow, to learn, and to be supported and be championed. We want those leaders that join in with us to know that there's been a significant shift that they've experienced, right? that starts them on a journey. And really underneath it all, our hope is that through the coaching that they get, they will see coaching as a significant part of how they get their mission done, how they build their organization, to the point that what we want to see happening more and more is that they begin to write coaching in when they apply for grants, right? Because they realize coaching is necessary for them to be able to lead their organization well, to build a strong organization, and to achieve their mission, right? So their mission, what we want to be able to say is their mission is possible because coaching is a part of how they grow their organization, right? So we want to say that we help missions become possible, not impossible, but possible. So that's the what that we do. And the other part of what makes this sustainable is the fact that we have a framework and we have process. The process itself allows this to be manageable because that was a key component for us. Again, we have volunteer coaches. We don't want our coaches to lose sleep or to not, be able to run their own business. So we ask them to give just a limited amount of their time to this. And we bring in many coaches so that we can share the work and share the rewards of being fulfilled and knowing that we're giving that impact. And we've put together a structure. It's not rigid, but it allows us to know where we are in the process. It allows the clients to know where they are in the process. And it allows those that are overseeing this to be able to give it some oversight without taking on too much either. Our committee's members will tell you, and Nancy, you can chime in, we're not asking them to put in 20 hours a month or, a week. We really try to limit the time that they put in to maybe, 1 to 3 hours a month. And because of the process, we can do that. Would you say that's fair, Nancy? Yeah. I think Nancy was on mute, but I think she's saying yes. So we have a process that starts from the client coming into the Center for Nonprofits as a member and recognizing that coaching might be something they need, and it moves them all the way through the coaching engagement. And after the coaching engagement, we still check in with them to find out what the experience was like and what's next for them. And we also do an evaluation. So we want to know how we can support our coaches in their own growth. And so there's feedback on the coach as well as feedback on the experience. And as a result of that, we're able to capture enough information that we can start to build some case studies around coaching, because all of that is a part of the process. So I would say the process and the partnership are keys to building this and to making it sustainable. Our how. I mentioned that we didn't want to overtax our coaches. So one of the things that we did is we came up with what's a reasonable amount of time for someone to experience coaching, and enough that they can experience a shift, and a shift that can lead to transforming either how they show up for themselves, how they show up as a leader, or how they lead over a particular situation in their organization. And so 5 hours over 3 months was what we landed on. And it seems to work. It allows them to feel like they're not being asked to take on way too much as a nonprofit leader, and also to recognize that this is substantial enough that somebody is providing them this service at no cost to them, right? So that number seems to stick. The coaches felt like that was a good number for them, 5 hours of time, and so they can divvy that time up and work with a nonprofit leader in ways that works for both the coach and the client. So whether that's 30-minute sessions, 45-minute sessions, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, that part we leave up to them to work out. But we ask for the coach to give 5 and over 3 months for the client. And that's what seems to work really well for us. So that's our how. And then the who is, who's doing this? And so what was really important for us is that the experience that these leaders have were solid coaching experiences. And the best way to know that we're getting solid coaching experience is that we have an ICF coach that's working with them. That helped us tremendously when the ICF changed their membership requirements to say that you have to have had at least 60 hours of coach-specific training, because prior to that, we were qualifying coaches based on what training did they get and where did they get it. So how do we know that they're going to be able to deliver this in a way that is, meaningful and respectful? So now we don't really have to look at their training, because if they're an ICF member, that's already been satisfied. Right. So we do also look, however, at references. And so we ask our coaches to apply, and they provide us with a couple of references that we follow up on, just to ensure that they've done this before, their experience has landed benefits, and it's been a positive experience. And so now we know we have a cadre of quality ICF coaches that we can provide to these nonprofit leaders. And we provide that based on what the nonprofit leader is looking for. So we've offered them coaching in a couple of ways, and our coach and client liaison and our committee work to make sure that we put the right client with the right coach, right? So if they're looking for leadership, or if they're looking for life coaching or wellness, we want to make sure we match them well. And so we ask for that information from our coaches, as well as from our clients. What do they really need? So the matching happens. And of course, this work cannot be done by one. And I just said, all of us can do what one of us cannot. And so on our committee, over time, we've had probably about 12 people serve on the committee. Right now, the committee has 4 people that are on it, and one has a role of client liaison. So they work with the center on the front end and with the clients to really make sure that we bring in someone who's coachable, who's ready, and who's oriented towards coaching. Then we have a coach liaison role, and that is to ensure that we have the right coaches, we understand their schedule so that we can plug them in a time frame that works for them, and also plug them in with the right coach. And then we have an at-large coach committee member whose role is really to support us, providing oversight and support the coaching and the client liaison work, as well as the back-end administrative work that's required. And we have an extended committee member in the sister chapter, because when we get work that's within the southern part of our state, we turn that over to the chapter leader that's there, that's also a part of our committee. So altogether, we roll up our sleeves and make that work, and share the work, share the load, and communicate with each other. The communication we do by sharing files, and we use Dropbox as our high-tech technology. It's a place for us to keep our communications. It's a place for us to keep our information and our logs of what we're doing, how we're doing it. We keep feedback there. So there's a one-stop place that all of these committee members can dive into to keep up with what's going on at any time. Okay. So that is my quick walkthrough of what we do. And we've got some time left for your questions, your comments, or your concerns. And I just want to share a couple of stories before we jump into the questions. What allows us to keep doing this work, and Nancy's been on the committee for 3 years, what allows her to keep doing this, and me to keep doing this, and all of the committee members and the coaches that say we want to do it again year after year, is we get to see the impact. We get to see that people are shifting in their thinking, and as a result, their behaviors are changing, and as a result, they're making an impact in their organization, with their staff, and within the community. A couple of things that have brought this to us. We had one of the nonprofits that received coaching in our state was the food bank. And I believe there's a food bank in probably every state. But the Food Bank of North Carolina, not only did they get this coaching and it made such a difference, it made such an impact to them that when they had their annual conference, statewide conference, they wanted one of our coaches to be the keynote speaker, right? And we provided a coach from the committee. In fact, Donnell Saney, who was our coach liaison, did that talk. And the feedback after that was the entire staff across the state for the food bank felt that they were so encouraged and strengthened by understanding what they could do to support themselves and their fellow colleagues to continue the work that they were doing, and to understand its impact made such a huge difference that the director of that center said, I've got to sign up for a coach training program, right? We have to make coaching a part of it. So that's huge to us. To know that we've strengthened those leaders means that we as coaches of this chapter are helping to prevent hunger across our state, right? Another story of how this has worked and impacted lives is the president of the Center for Nonprofit, who's the organization that we partner with. The president stepped down. She resigned after, I don't know, something like 25 years. Well, the woman that replaced her as acting president immediately after getting into that role said, I need a coach to help me through this transition, right? So we know that it works. The people that are partnering with us know that it works. They're using the coaching. And so we know literally every single organization that we provide a coach for, that coach is going to feel fulfilled because they know that they're contributing to meaningful work and making a difference. We know that the organization leader is making a difference. And so it's really a win-win-win all the way across. And with that, we're open to any questions that you might have.
So I will just remind, thank you, Sackeena. I hope you are inspired as I am and I was when I started leading the chapter. Sackeena is also past president of the chapter. So if you have questions, you can use the chat area, and if needed, we'll open. We don't have too many people to not unmute yourself, so we can do that too. I want to share with the people on the webinar that two things. First, from the process as a leader of the chapter, I think what I learned from having conversations with Sackeena, that I don't touch any process and I don't start any project without having a good strategy and a good process, as you can see with what Sackeena and her team created with this specific project. So if people come and say, do something with us and reach out to us to do a project, I say, okay, but you will need to put time and efforts to create this project. I'm not going for the quick ones. I'm going for the long ones and the ones that create impact. So that's an inspiration from just getting to know what Sackeena is doing and being inspired to keep that her legacy and keep doing that with what we do in the chapter with this project and other projects. So that's one thing. And the other thing, I'm not sure if you can hear me. So the other thing I wanted to share as a coach in this program, I didn't share that with Sackeena and the other ladies from the team, but my last client, she came to me almost ready to just let go of what she does. And after being coached for the 3 months, and then, we said goodbye. We had a coffee. What's nice about it that you can even meet with them for a coffee when you finish their coaching. So we met for a coffee just to say, kind of have a conversation about the coaching. And a month after, I got an email from her thanking me for what she did, what happened to her in this process, and also sharing that she resigned her part-time job to put a full steam to create the vision that she started with me in this process. So I just want you to know how much impact, and just knowing that this very important nonprofit will not stop what they are doing, partly, not everything, but partly because of this kind of work. Many times you meet the nonprofit executives really tired, really exhausted. So at least I feel from my perspective of coaching them, that we bring back the energy to keep creating and keep their momentum. So thank you, Sackeena and Nancy and Donnell, for everything you're doing with this great work, and Amy to lead that with other chapters too. So I see a question from Julie. This is wonderful. I would like to speak further about this and would appreciate email and phone numbers. We're definitely going to have contact information. We'll make sure you have that. We're going to share the recording and make sure, if that's okay with you, Sackeena and Amy, that people can contact you. We'll give us the right emails to contact.
Absolutely. And I would just add, one of the roles that I hope the foundation plays as we continue to grow in these type of projects is really acting as a conduit for resources for all chapters. So I know we've worked with Sackeena and her team, along with several other chapters who have had successful programs, to kind of create a toolkit, which you see the link that's on the screen now. But my long-term hope is that people, when they're not sure, we can help put them together. So we can connect you with Sackeena and ICF Raleigh, or we can work on these type of webinars, or we can provide a resource space for documents. So, please don't hesitate on the foundation's part to reach out if you're needing additional details on, well, how did you strategize, or how did Sackeena do this, or we have a little toolkit that we put together that's a blend of several pieces that we thought were really important to remember as you're planning out your chapter's progress.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Please feel free to ask your questions, or you can ask to unmute yourself, or unmute yourself and ask your question. So Amy, maybe do you see that you get maybe same questions that come on your way, or maybe Nancy can share also what are the questions that you get for our team. So Amy, maybe you start, and then Nancy, you think for a few moments, what are the questions you get?
I think, as I had referenced before, a lot of times, and I think Sackeena covered this in her conversation, chapters aren't sure where to start. How do you decide who your partner is? So I think that's a question I hear frequently in new programs starting. A lot of times with some of the programs that are existing out there, and just because of the cultural nuances around what is pro bono, is a lot of questions, especially when it comes to our awards program around how do you create a program that is pro bono that qualifies for the awards, but in some cultures there might be some kind of exchange of value. As a board of trustees, we are spending a lot of time and conversation around that. We recognize there's great things going on. There's cultural differences in how pro bono activities are interpreted, and we'll just continue to have those conversations. But I think Sackeena and what you all do in North Carolina is important because it really captures the heart. I mean, that's it 110%, right? It's a giving. There's more than just what coaching can provide for that company, or for that executive director, or for that NGO. It's about the heart of what it gives back to the coach to be able to provide that pro bono experience. And so, I appreciate that you added that at the beginning of your presentation, Sackeena, because I think it ignites everything that we're trying to do as the foundation. Our hope and our goal is that we would move social progress by coaching, because we all know, we know we're speaking to the choir, right? We know this is a key component and tool and mechanism in life that really brings us to a better place and station. And so, I would ask, and please, you all jump in who have been a part of that program, but amazing make sure you put the heart first. So what resonates in your community? What's the heart of your community, and how can you plug into that?
Nice.
So Nancy, I unmuted you, so you are able to speak now. So feel free to share from what you, because I know a few chapters reached out to you in the last few months, and probably they have the same questions. So if you can share with us.
I think most of them have asked the question about how do you get started? What do you do? And what in my community? And so I think what we've been able to do is to share the story again and again with them. And so I think they really have come with the specific questions and ready to get started and wanting to do something in their chapter about this. My role on the committee has been primarily to interview the clients as they come to us, to kind of clarify with them what it is they're looking for, because a lot of times they'll say one thing, and when I talk to them, oh no, I think you really want to do wellness coaching and not executive leadership, or it's about time management, not about, and that's a part of leadership coaching, but it's more specific, or it's career coaching. They're really kind of decide is what do I do to move up in this organization, or where do I go from here in the organization that I'm a part of now, and how do I develop myself in order to do that? So that's kind of some of the questions that the clients come to us with, and part of the role of the client liaison is to kind of help them clarify and to begin to think a little bit more specifically about what their goal will be in working with a coach, so it's not kind of all over the place, as that sometimes they come and they're telling you their story.
If I can add something about that, Nancy, I know there is a lot of conversation in the leadership about educating about coaching, and our chapter is doing a lot about experiencing coaching. So I think what you're just sharing is how you experience coaching even before you start, with helping people understand that there are different kinds of coaching, and they get confused because they think mostly that coaching is about, and that's my assumption, that it's about getting your goals, or someone is pushing you to get into the goals that they decide for you. So I think it starts even before the coaching itself, with your role with helping them understand that there are different kinds of coaching, and really get the coaching that will help them grow as a leader. And sometimes it's wellness coaching.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
Okay, so I will ask again, any other questions from the people who joined us? I believe if you join, you probably have a challenge or struggle, so feel free. This is your time to get answers from Sackeena and Amy and Nancy. Okay, so Sackeena, anything else, or Amy, that you would like to add on just from listening to the conversation right now? And if not, we'll wrap up and make sure to share your contact information and share this recording with everyone.
Yeah, so this is Sackeena, and I think one of the tips, if any, that I would share is to really focus on taking on this sort of an initiative in a way that it can be sustained. All right. So I know a lot of chapters do this kind of work during International Coaching Week, and they get exhausted when that week is over because of, how big and how broad they go with providing pro bono coaching services. So I think, the International Coaching Week might be a good week to think about, who are you serving during that week? And of the people that you've served, since it's usually a very broad effort, which ones speak to the heart of your chapter, right? And then look at how can you support maybe that particular passion area or group or organization throughout the year. So in a way, you almost start with the end in mind and back up into, so what could we do over the course of a year? And then if we're doing that over the course of a year, what would that look like monthly? And that's part of the way that you can build something that really becomes sustainable, and you can find that you have much greater impact than you could have in just the 1 week throughout the year with your constituents in your community. So that's just a tip that I would offer.
And as I shared before, I think it's one of the biggest learnings from me from Sackeena, that when we are creating something, remember that even with coaching, one session it's maybe nice, but it's not a real coaching. And 15 minutes, it's nice to maybe introduce people to coaching, but where is the impact? So when we create something, it's about what we are creating and what is the message we give to the community when we create these projects. What is the message when we have 5 sessions and keep doing that with the same organization and really keep supporting our whatever we decide to do, or what is the message when we do 15 minutes coaching and what it means about our profession. So we stopped doing any 15 minutes coaching with the chapter to introduce coaching, because we really believe it can a bit even harm the coaching profession, because it means it's quick and it's done. And that's not what coaching is all about. Coaching is about creating an impact and sustainable process with a client, that they really see the impact, and we know that it takes time. So that's what we do with everything we do with the chapter, and also with the way we communicate coaching. So thank you, Sackeena, for this reminder. And if you have any other... Yeah.
There's one more thing, Noah, as you were talking that I was reminded of that I didn't share. Because of the fact that we were doing partnerships, and some of these are big partnerships. So the Center for Nonprofit, it's a huge agency. It serves the entire state. And so to enter into a partnership with them, and then with all of our members, the members of the nonprofit that work with us, we want to honor the ethics of coaching. So we enter into agreements with them. And so what became really important to us in the beginning of this was to ensure that we were setting ourselves up in a way that we could be ethically correct and make sure that we weren't becoming a liability in any way to the chapter, to ICF, or to the coaches that are in the chapter. So we literally drew up an agreement of what that would look like, and actually sat with an attorney and have him to sort of review it. And in fact, he reviewed the executive summary of what it is that we were trying to do. And one of the things that he pointed out that I thought was important is he said, make sure that all of your coaches understand what you're doing, so that no matter which coach is assigned, the same experience is happening. And he said, you don't want ever to go into this community and say, we're going to provide you pro bono, and do what is called a bait and switch, which is we're going to kind of give you this, and then we're going to get you hooked so that you start paying us. And I think that was really important in our initial work, to ensure that coaches that came on board with us recognize that we weren't doing a bait and switch. This isn't a key way for them to start to get more business. This is really about being able to give back. And so we made sure that the coaches were oriented to that and understood that. And as a result, what we were able to do is really lay this out in such a way that clients recognize there's no pressure here. We're going to give you what we say we're giving you. No bait, no switch. This is what we're giving you. And if after the fact you should choose and say, next year we're going to put this into our budget to get coaching, great. Now what they've done is they've recognized coaching. They want more of it than we can give them. And they can tie that into their strategic priorities so that it's actually funded. And now they know where they want to go for that coach. So we've taken away a lot of the angst for going out and finding a coach. They know they can turn to our chapter, and perhaps even to a coach that worked with them during that time of the pro bono work. So we do have a couple of coaches who, that's happened for them and it's become work in their business, but there is no bait and switch. And we were really clear on that. And so we have our coaches actually sign an agreement to that fact when they become a part of the cadre of coaches, that they are going to honor that in their work. And so again, as a long-term and a sustainable practice, I think making sure that legal part and the liability part is a part of your initiative is important.
Absolutely. Sackeena, how do you handle, because I feel like what I hear from other chapters is an uncertainty how to manage. I'm glad you touched on that point. Uncertainty how to manage. Have you had scenarios where, say, I'm kind of making up an example, but say the food bank came back after that 5 hours for 3 months scenario and said, we want more coaching, but we'd like it to be pro bono. Do you have suggestions on, do you feel the contract, does it really lay it out pretty succinctly enough that there's just an understanding and an education at the front? Because I think that would be beneficial for chapters to know how to manage that transition, if there's any additional information you have around that.
Yeah, we do have some information that are provided to them on the front end of the fact that it's 5 hours. And I believe that they can renew that. Nancy, do you remember in the details of what's in that agreement?
My recollection is that it's they can come back, but it has to be another year, and in the next year they can
like
only come one time during that year and use that. I guess one of the things that I would like to say kind of relates to that is that, you know, chapters spend some time and energy getting this program going, but I would like you not to feel like you're so overwhelmed that you don't begin, because
Right.
it hasn't been that an overwhelming. I would say in the last 3 years, we've had over 50 inquiries. Not all of those have ended up being coaching, and probably about 30 of those 30 plus have been coached over the period of 3 years. So you're not looking at an overwhelming amount for a chapter. I just want them to be encouraged and not discouraged by the amount. You're thinking that it's going to be, we're going to be so overwhelmed, but it is manageable, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
But you created a system that makes it manageable too. And that's the part of the chapter, to really sit and as you mentioned before, think about where you want to create the impact from the heart, and then come with a system. And I think what Sackeena shared with you today will really allow other chapters to start creating a system and then go out when you're ready, and not before, and then you have to figure it out. And it's sometimes you do that and still need to figure out things, but when you have a system in place, it makes it much easier.
Absolutely.
Nancy, I'm just curious again, if you could tell us how many this year, so it's in September now of 2016, how many clients have we served through the program?
Since the beginning of the year, 10 clients have called in, and we've assigned coaches.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe before we say goodbye, one word or two from each one of you to summarize and this webinar.
Sure. I'll go first if you don't care. I would just again say our thanks from a foundation standpoint of the great leadership that ICF Raleigh has taken in these type of initiatives. We are thrilled to have you be our first annual Gift of Coaching Award winner, and I think the ripple effect of the pebbles that you are putting out there are still yet to come. Sackeena has some great examples of what those are that you already know about. As she was speaking to that, I found myself thinking, man, we don't even know what some of the ripples still are. I can't wait to see what they will be. So I would just give a last tidbit. My phone's echoing a little bit. I don't know if
I'm going to try and unmute someone.
Wait a moment. So I would just kind of put out there in the universe that don't forget our awards just opened for this year. We are accepting applications for the 2016 Gift of Coaching Awards, and we hope that those initiatives that were started last year, people will be willing to share those with the rest of the chapters through this awards program. We were pleased to be able to provide ICF Raleigh and their partner with an honorarium as part of their awards that they received with this prize. So our intention is not just to support and inspire and maintain, but to really keep that good work going through those honorariums. So it is beneficial and resource to take a little time and fill out that application, as Sackeena can tell you from her experience last year. So keep up the wonderful, wonderful work of not only creating awareness of coaching, but really sharing with the world what a difference coaching can make in people's lives.
Cool. No, did you say you had someone that you wanted to open up?
No, just if you have something to say before we wrap up.
Yeah, my one word would just be encouragement. I just want to encourage everyone that, every coach that I know has a place in their heart that needs to be filled by serving, by giving back, coaching. So, find a way to do that. And really, it only takes one person whose heart just can't stop until they do something. That's how we started, with one person that just said, we've got to do something. And if you share that, others will join you. So I just want to encourage you to do what you do in service of humanity flourishing.
Thank you, ladies. I'm not on mute, right? Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Sackeena, and thank you, Nancy, that is right now on mute. And thank you, everyone who joined us today. And I want to say two things. First, thank you to volunteers who help create a dream come true. Without them, nothing will happen in any of the chapters and in ICF. So that's one thing. And another thing, thank you to Charlotte chapter, who said yes to join us for this vision. So there are so many chapters out there. I invite everyone, you don't have to do everything on your own. Reach out to other chapters. So thank you, ladies. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And again, we are going to share the recording with everyone and share the contact information for other chapters to reach out to Sackeena and Nancy. If we see we get too many questions again, we're going to do another webinar.
Perfect.
Be careful, ladies. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, afternoon, wherever you are.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you for keeping us organized on this call. We appreciate you too.
Yes. Thank you.